Every great uprising begins the same way. Not with noise, not with a crowd, not with a flag raised high in the wind. It begins in a small room, with a single person, staring at a wall covered in red string and impossible odds, and deciding quietly that the impossible is simply a plan nobody has written yet. You are in that room right now. Maybe you don't see the walls, maybe you don't see the string. But look closer at the doubts you've pinned to your own mind, at the fears you've connected to every dream you've ever postponed. You have been planning your own heist for years. The heist of your life, back from the hands that took it from you, and you have been afraid to pull the trigger. I want to tell you something that took me a lifetime to understand. The system does not fear your anger. Anger burns bright and dies fast. The system does not fear your sadness. Sadness makes you smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. What the system fears, what any wall, any cage, any limitation fears, is a mind that refuses to stop thinking. A mind that sits in the dark and says, there is always a way out. I simply haven't found it yet. That is not naive optimism. That is strategy. That is the coldest, most disciplined form of hope there is. They will tell you the plan is impossible. They will show you statistics, precedents, all the ways people like you have failed before. They will use words like realistic as a leash and practical as a cage with a comfortable cushion inside it. Let them talk. While they are busy explaining why something cannot be done, you will be busy doing it. This is the first rule of resistance. Never argue with the guards. Outthink them. You do not win a rebellion by shouting louder than the world. You win it by understanding the world's patterns so completely that you become 3 moves ahead before it has finished its first. Every person who has ever changed their life, who has ever broken a cycle their family carried for generations, who has ever walked out of a room that told them no and built a life that screamed yes, every one of them did it the same way. Not with luck, with a plan, with patience, with the terrifying, beautiful discipline of preparing in silence for a moment that has not yet arrived. Rise, not because it is easy. Rise because it is not. Here is what they never tell you about the great escapes, the great uprisings, the great turning points in a person's life. No one does it alone. Every plan, no matter how brilliant, needs hands that are not your own. It needs a Berlin who is reckless when you are careful, a Nairobi who is fierce when you are quiet, a Tokyo who runs toward danger when everyone else runs from it. It needs people who believe in the plan even on the days you don't believe in yourself. Look around you. Somewhere in your life, there is a person waiting for you to say the word, join me. There is a friend who would stand beside you at 4 a.m. if you asked. There is a stranger becoming a friend, right now, in a version of your story you haven't written yet. Stop trying to carry the entire weight of your own liberation by yourself. The mask you wear does not have to be your face alone. It can be the face of everyone who ever believed the world owed them more than it was giving them. Because this was never about one person. It was never about me. It was never about you. It is about all of us who were told to stay small and decided together to become impossible to contain. Let me ask you something, and I want you to actually answer it, not out loud. Just to yourself in the quiet part of your mind where you keep the truth. What is staying costing you? Not the risk of trying, not the fear of failing. I am asking about the other side of that coin, the one nobody calculates because it is invisible, silent, spread across years instead of a single dramatic moment. What is staying costing you? The version of you that could have started the business. The version of you that could have left the relationship that was quietly erasing you. The version of you that could have said the true thing instead of the safe thing. The version of you that could have moved to the new city, taken the leap, asked the question, made the call. That version of you is not dead. But every day you stay where you are out of fear, you are burying them a little deeper. The greatest heist is not against a bank, or an enemy, or an institution. It is against your own resignation. It is stealing your future back from the hands of your own hesitation. Somewhere along the way, someone gave you a mask. Maybe it wasn't red. Maybe it didn't have a painter's face. But it was a mask all the same, the mask of who you were supposed to be. The quiet one. The reliable one. The one who doesn't cause trouble, doesn't ask too much, doesn't reach too far. You wore it because it was easier than fighting for the face underneath. I am here to tell you, it is time to take it off. Not the mask you choose for yourself, the one you put on when you decide to become someone bigger than your fear. I mean the other mask. The one the world handed you before you were old enough to say no. The one that made you smaller so that other people could feel more comfortable. That mask was never yours. It was a costume of obedience, and you have worn it long enough. Rise, take off the mask they gave you, and put on the one you choose, deliberately, defiantly, on your own terms. There is a reason resistance has always had a song. Not because music wins wars, but because music remembers what the mind forgets under pressure. That this fight was never only strategy. It was always also joy, also defiance. Also the simple, radical act of feeling alive, while the world tries to convince you that survival should look like silence. Somewhere in the middle of your hardest year, you are allowed to sing. You are allowed to dance in the wreckage of a plan that didn't go as expected. You are allowed to laugh with the people beside you, even when the outcome is uncertain. Joy is not the opposite of struggle. Joy is what makes the struggle survivable. So as you build your plan, as you prepare your resistance, as you plot your quiet uprising against everything that has told you to stay small, do not forget to sing. There will come a moment, and you will know it when it arrives, where all the planning ends, and all that is left is the doing. The moment where you stop rehearsing and start living the plan you built. In that moment, you will be afraid. Let me be clear about that, because no one tells the truth about this part. Courage does not feel like the absence of fear. Courage feels exactly like fear, except you move anyway. Every person who has ever walked into their impossible moment, the interview, the stage, the surgery, the confrontation, the first day of the rest of their life, felt their hands shake exactly like yours will shake. The difference between the ones who walked through the door and the ones who turned back was never the absence of fear. It was the presence of a plan they trusted more than they trusted their fear. So when your final hour comes, and it is coming, I promise you that, remember everything you built to get there. Remember the nights you studied when you could have slept. Remember the people who believed in you before you believed in yourself. Remember the masks you already took off, and the ones still waiting to fall. And walk through the door anyway. They thought this was a story about a robbery. It was never about the gold. It was never about the building, or the vault, or the plan on the wall covered in red string. It was about something far more dangerous to the people who benefit from your obedience. It was about ordinary people deciding they were done being told what they were allowed to want. That is what they cannot forgive, not the theft, the audacity of people who were supposed to stay small, deciding instead to become impossible to ignore. You are one of those people. Right now, today, in whatever room you are sitting in as you hear these words, you are standing exactly where every great uprising has ever started, at the beginning, with nothing but a plan and the terrifying decision to believe in it anyway. So arise, arise from the bed that has held you longer than it should have. Arise from the doubt that convinced you your dream was someone else's privilege. Arise from the comparison that made your timeline feel like a failure instead of a path. Arise from the version of you that apologizes for taking up space. Arise because somewhere out there your vault is waiting. Your impossible plan is waiting. Your team, the ones who will wear the mask beside you, are waiting for you to say the word. This is not a heist. This is a resurrection, and it begins the moment you stop waiting for permission and start building the plan.